everybody. Cam K back with you here for episode 48. Can't believe it's already been 48 episodes of the NASCAR Pinty series Power Hour here on G-Force TV. So glad to have you back here with us tonight. It is officially race week, which means one of my favorite races of the entire season is going to take place this Saturday at Valley Junction. It is time for Autodrome Chaudière for the Bud Light 300. 300 laps going on for this weekend, and can't be more excited for it. It is by far my favorite short track that we go to. Really, really, really close racing, and I love to say that, but it is remarkable that we have so many great tracks on the schedule, first off. But not only that, we have a racetrack that put on a great finish last year, and we've already had two really good finishes to start this season. There's lots of great stuff that we're going to dive into. We're going to dive into the entry list, which was released by Valley Junction today. We're also going to talk about the point standings where we're situated right now. We're going to get started, though, with something that I know a lot of fans are really excited about, and that is the merchandise that Fast Eddie Racewear has been providing for the fans. So we're going to take a quick look at what that is and then where they are going to be. One of the things that was asked about quite regularly was, are we going to get merch, and is it going to be smooth operator, great, and we're going to Chaudière next year. That's happening for 100%. It didn't happen this year, but next year is the plan. So first off, we're going to take a look at what that merchandise looks like. It's extensive now. We've got an actual Facebook page. We've got a website. They're on social media. Follow, because there's contests already available. We're going to go and we're going to showcase one of those contests earlier today that they put out there. I might have not been from today, but I've now seen it. Jeremy, I'll get to your question in just a second. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we did take a look on is you're going to go to NASCAR.fasteddiespeedwear.com. I'll just see if I can get this to work. For whatever reason, it's not showing my screen capture. So let's add the right one. Here it is. All right. So you have now an official NASCAR Pinty Series officially licensed merchandise. This is their actual website where you're going to have all of the merchandise. This doesn't appear now that this is going to be a one-time thing. They wouldn't have invested this much time and money into putting a website together, all the social medias, if it's going to be one and done. So this looks like it's here to stay, which is excellent. Obviously, big supporters of Fast Eddie Racewear. They obviously have been partners in motorsports for a long time. So this is their new website. You can catch out. Let's take a look at some of the merchandise that they do have available. And then let's also take a look at the prices, because that's one of the things that's very important. So we've got your new arrivals, your hats, your fleece, and your youth. Obviously, what I think needs to happen here is this be hopefully available at every racetrack. Now, that isn't going to happen this year. I think that's a little too quick. And we'll have to figure out the rain jackets, as Al says, were sold out. And on the Saturday, they didn't even have them when we were there on Sunday. So that's a good sign. Fans want merchandise, and this is a great way to start. If we take a look, you've got your. Let's take just a quick look at some of the merch right now. So we'll go to the t-shirts first. So I don't believe this actually has everything. I think there actually may have been sold out of the actual plain NASCAR Pinty Series t-shirt. I believe there was one that was just plain NASCAR Pinty Series t-shirt, and it's not there. So you got this Full Throttle NASCAR Pinty series. This is a really badass looking one, stock car competition. It's almost like a throwback look to it. Now your sizes go up to 3X. As a guy that's a 3X probably plus, I'd hope that we can get a little bit bigger sizes. I think that's something that they will have to look at as well. But right now, that's the way you want to start with it. Just a nice t-shirt here. So Full Throttle on the front of that. They also have, of course, a ladies version. But then they have this really creative looking one. And this is definitely, this looks like an Ed Hackinson design. Like this looks like something that he would have put. So he's got your nice NASCAR Pinties on the front. I just so you know, guys, off camera, I look exactly like this. So that's exactly how that looks on me. But then they've got this really nice, cool creative here. Now, the only difference is, and likely it's either a licensing issue or maybe this was put together a while back, but they've got a Fusion here instead of the Mustangs. So that's the only change there, but they got the Camaros and the Challengers on there. Love it. You got your 23, your 2023, and then just a number 3. Obviously, how would you not have a number 3? And they got Pinties on it. I'd love to see this at every track because I think that's what the fans want. But we have to realize that it's not easy to do all of that. You have to pay for all that. So we'll have to see where they go. How about their hat selection? And they've got quite a bit. And one of the things, actually, I just want to go and touch back on those t-shirts again. Not crazy in terms of the prices here. I mean, $30 for a shirt. 25 for the generic with nothing on the back of it, but really good prices for officially licensed merchandise. Now this isn't Canadian dollars. That's the other thing you have to remember, is that typically when you buy stuff from the US, it's all US dollars. So this is pretty good to have a shirt for $30 up to 3X. Hats are even better on the price point. 25 Canadian. You got your Velcro, you've got your mesh backs, you've got your ladies cap, you've got a toque, which I really like this. You've got your woven charcoal snapbacks. So perfect. Absolutely love these. Personally, I got to go between these two just because I really like just the regular Pinty's black. I don't like the kind of the logo that kind of is washed through. But that's just my own personal. I love that you've got the French and the English spelling for series on here. NASCAR to the side, Pinty's up front. Now, if we are able to just like slide these to the side, and then all of a sudden now we have number 27 on this side or a number 17, and then we have a DJ like a Castrol on the front of this. So hopefully there's ways to expand the line. I know it's obviously going to be difficult because this is obviously just the series stuff. So, but I mean, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get more teams doing merchandise as well. Good extent, like we've got a good amount of them that are doing it now. Definitely, I want to see some E3, some EHR ones for the like a recap recovery team or the Trayton Lapsovich. I know he had some merch last year. DJ Kennington is a common one that I hear all the time. Alex Tagliani, he typically has merch. Paye Racing, they have merch. So, and then actually Josh Collins Racing will also have merch out. So that's great. Fleece. How about that? Hoodies. $50. Not bad for a price for a hoodie. I think we were looking at a lot of other series, and sometimes you're looking 50 upwards. So this is right around the same price point. And then you got your kids fleece as well, up to 3X once again. Definitely love this. Right now only in black, but you know there's potential obviously when you start off, as Rigger said, like this is step by step. Remember, this is only the first time that we've had these types of merch lines done in quite a while. You've got your youth sizes. No youth t-shirts listed here right now, but it's possible that they're already sold out. as Al says, the merchandise was all sold out on the Saturday at CTMP. There was a ton of kids there, so I wouldn't be shocked. So that's where we're at here for the current merch line. Now, it is available to purchase online and get shipped. And the reason why I want to mention that it's able to be shipped is because they are not going to be at every racetrack, unfortunately. And this is to be expected. Right now, of course, they're starting the merch lines. So you're not going to expect that they're going to have stuff right away. So unfortunately, this does look that it will omit the Western Swing and it will omit Eastbound Park for right now. But you have to remember with another merch hauler, it's a lot of expense for Fast Eddie to start off. So I think that they're doing a test right now. Personally, I think that's what's happening right now. So they'll be at Chaudier, they'll be at Toronto, they'll be in Trois-Rivières, they'll be in Ohsweken, they'll be in ICAR, and they'll be at Delaware. So that's technically 7 more races of the 14 that we're going to have this year. So half the schedule is going to have a merch tent. But again, if you are out of those provinces, you have the ability to get it shipped to you. All right. Now, obviously, they kind of rub it in here by saying you can find something and save your shipping fees. Well, unfortunately, not everybody lives in those provinces, but this is a start. And that's the biggest thing that I want people to remember is that it's a start. We had nothing a year ago, and now we have something, and we have something coming to the racetracks, and they're notifying you which tracks they will be at. So this is excellent stuff. Hopefully they do well, and I think the price points, like I said, they're not outrageous. I think when I was looking at a potentially, like if I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs hat, it's like $45. So to have something at $25, pretty good. Now, for myself, and I know James Jordan on the page also mentioned this, I have a huge head. Not just because my hair is all nice and big, but I literally have a huge head. So adjustable sizes is good. It's the type of fit as well that would hopefully be needed. Obviously, going up to 3X is a really big deal. A lot of places will add cost for a 3X shirt. They don't appear to be doing that here. So good on Fast Eddie for doing that. And of course, show your support. Go out there and purchase, and you can find all the links that are on the NASCAR Pinty Series community page. Also, you can find them on social media. And the reason we're going to bring up their social media is, and this is where you're going to want to find and you're going to want to follow, because one of the things that is very important is that you're going to need to follow, because there's contests that are going to be available. And that's something that I think a lot of people are interested in, because if you're able to win, that's definitely something that's going to be very important. If you want to be able to win, you have to be following them for their march. So I'm just going to put it back up here. I just want to make sure that I get the right page here first, because I don't want to pull up something that's not correct. All right. So what you need to do is you need to follow the Fast Eddie's licensed NASCAR merchandise for NASCAR Pinty Series. So you've got 95 likes, 99 followers. Reason being, they have contests. Help us kick things off with this incredible chance to win a NASCAR Pinty Series official hoodie signed by 2023 NASCAR Pinty Series drivers. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Like and follow our page, share, and don't forget this part, and comment which piece of our new line you're most excited about. We'll choose the winner on Thursday and ship your sweater out after the race this weekend. So you have plenty of time still to get it out. It is only Monday. You have until Thursday. Make sure you comment, but also you share. You have to share using this button here. Okay, but you also have to like. Okay, got to be able to do that. How to follow is a little bit harder. I think you've got to follow through here, perhaps. Something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure on how you do the follow here. It's from a different page, if I'm not mistaken. But that's what you want to do, because you want to be able to win free stuff. And getting a free hoodie, that's, I think, what everybody... And it's a free hoodie that's signed by all the drivers. So that's pretty cool. We haven't seen giveaways like this in quite a while. That's what this series needs to do, and they're doing it. This is what we talked about on this show. I've talked about it several times, is that to interact with the fan base, doing contests, also doing giveaways, having merchandise. We're taking all the right steps here. This is, again, an example of Tony Spateri's NASCAR Pinty series. This is some of the stuff that we had talked about on the show. We've talked with him about this. And he had, again, to his credit, he said, we're working on it and it's going to come. Just, there you go. Oh, okay. Thank you, Jim. They've changed so much stuff on Facebook that it's hard to remember. So basically just like the page, follow it, share the post, the most important thing, and you have the opportunity. Make sure you comment, though, because if you don't comment, you're not going to be entered. So the people in here, our good buddy Wes is already part of this. Regan's already a part of this. Derek's a part of this. Karen, Patrick, Karen again, Daryl. That's what you want to do. Get out there, get your opportunity to win. Check them out. I believe they're on Instagram too. In terms of Twitter, I'm not sure if they're on Twitter yet, but they will be. This is a big deal. This is not a small thing anymore. Like we are dealing with an actual merch line for this series. So again, Fast Eddie's licensed merchandise for NASCAR Pinty series. Check it out. Get your opportunity to win, and somebody on Thursday will get it. They'll ship your sweater out after the race weekend. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely love this. Good on the series. Good on to Ed Hackinson, Jamie Hackinson, Jason Hathaway, the whole Fast Eddie team. Excellent stuff. That's great to see, and I know fans have been clamoring for merchandise. So having officially licensed gear, that's what you want to see. Absolutely great. There is a way to share. You have to press the share button. That's the way to share it. So, again, just for those in the back, you got to press the share button here and share now. Or you can share to a feed, share to your friends. So you're going to share that way. Okay? And then you get the opportunity to be entered. So again, they are going to pick the winner. You get a signed hoodie by the 2023 NASCAR Pinty Series drivers. Absolutely love seeing this. Of course, I just want to do a quick shout out this Saturday as well for the APC series on GeForce TV. It will be live streamed here on GeForce TV. But the other thing you have to make mention, they actually announced today that there will be an autograph session for the APC competitors at the racetrack. So definitely make sure you go and check that out. I think we're about ready though to take a look into dive a little bit deeper into this weekend's race at Chaudier. Obviously, last year we had a pretty exciting race. Marc-Antoine Camerand, pretty big in stealing the show last year. He didn't even win though. But then some mistakes were made, some spins, some actions on the racetrack. People got into it, and it made things really exciting. We're going to take a quick look back at what the finish was last year, and then we'll get into our roster that we're going to see at the Bud Light 300.
Get a run, but again, Cameron lays back, and I don't think it's going to work this time.
Well, they'll both pour it down the inside. Cameron's got to deal with Kennington, and Ranger will drive off down the back straightaway to a 3-car length advantage, coming for the white flag.
Kennington on the inside, Cameron up high, Andrew Ranger. Oh, trouble in turn number 4. They are stacked up. We are still under green, and now we're not. The yellow flag flies. And that should end this one.
So that is what ended it last year. A caution, but it meant GM Paillet 1-2. Now, obviously, when you go out to these short tracks, you got to watch Marc-Antoine Cameron. Obviously, we had a really close last two races, but we got a little bit testy towards the end of the finish. Lots of people were saying that there was middle fingers being thrown. Turns out that wasn't actually the case. Maybe they were thinking that was happening, but the drivers confirmed that was not happening. And Trayton Lapsovich has come out of it twice with a victory on the rest of the field. And so we've got to see kind of where the field will be this week. It's been a very competitive season so far. Very competitive. You've got multiple drivers that have done 2 races so far. We've got a couple of names that we're not expecting to be part of this race this weekend. Now, unfortunately, one of the names is Rafael Lessard. We are not expecting to be a part of the festivities. Could that change? Absolutely. But as of right now, not expecting that he's going to be there. However, we are expecting some names that haven't been in the series this year that will be a part of this race. There are some question marks as well. Dexter Stacey is currently injured. He was injured actually previous to CTMP, and not 100% sure if he's going to be able to go the entire race. The recap recovery, number 92. I know Dexter's got a lot of big plans this year, so he wants to get healed up. This kind of place would seem to be very difficult if you've got an injury, especially to either your legs or your arms. So hopefully he's able to go. If not, maybe they'll put somebody in the car. And if so, he's got a long list of people that he could be asking to fill in if that's the route that they go. Now, right now, Trayton Lapsovich is your points leader. He's leading over by 12 points over Marc-Antoine Cameron. So let's take a quick look at the point standings right here on Racing Reference. So right now, Trayton Lapsovich has had 2 wins in 2 races with a pole position, led 248 of the laps. Not too shabby at all. 12-point lead over Marc-Antoine Cameron, but only 13 over Kevin Lacroix, so 1 point position difference between Cameron and Lacroix. Alex Gannett, our early favorite for the surprise of the season so far, sits in 4th place. LP Dumoulin looking a little bit better this year. He is in 5th place, 18 points back. Then it's DJ Kennington, JP Bergeron. Dexter Stacey sits 8th, Larry Jackson in 9th, and Alex Tagliani is in 10th. Now, one of the names we're not expecting to be at the track this weekend is Daniel Bois in the MBS number 31. This was one of the races they were not expected to go to. Malcolm Strawn, who's raced the 98 for Jim Bray, sits 12th. Technically, this is actually, it looks to be like a tie. Or no, it's a 1 point difference between those two racers in 11th and 12th. Brandon Watson in 13th. Wallace Stacey. I don't think I ever would have thought Wallace Stacey ahead of Andrew Ranger in the standings, but Rangers had a really tough start to the season. So 15th place for Andrew. Glenn Stiers sitting 16th. Gary Clute, we are not expecting Gary to be at the track this weekend. Thomas Nouveau in 18th. He has also had an awful start with mechanical issues in both races. Donald Teague, we do expect to be back. He was very, very good at Sunset Speedway. He's my pick to potentially win this. Brandon McFarlane in the Josh Collins Racing Cars. He is back this week, and Matthew Scannell is not. Josh Collins is back. Jocelyn Fecteau, Ryan Clute, Kyle Steckley, Herbie Drescher, Mike Gowdy, Peter Clute, and Simon Charbonneau, we are not expecting at the track this weekend. That is our point standings rundown. So as of right now, we've got a pretty good roster for this race. We are looking at 2022, 2020, we're looking at 21 right now. Now, if there's any surprises, I would say maybe somebody will withdraw from the race. Riegser's calling Andrew Ranger to win this race, so we'll see. I picked Donald Teej. I think Teej is the guy. Well, actually, no. Technically, on the show last week, Riegser, I picked Cameron, and I'm still sticking by that. And Donald Teej is my dark horse pick. Riegser says that it's going to be Andrew Ranger, and I believe his dark horse, I can't remember who his dark horse pick was. I want to say, was it Gannett? May have been Gannett that he said it was his dark horse pick. So I want to hear from you guys. Put in the comment section, comment on here, who is going to win the race? Who is your dark horse pick, meaning not the obvious pick. Maybe it was Brandon Watson that you picked, Rigsy. I can't remember. But let's take a look at who we have on the entry list that was released by Valley Junction. So Glenn Stiers, of course, we were expecting Glenn there. JP Bergeron, Alex Gannett, Brandon Watson, and how about the return of Matthew Kingsbury, local favorite at Chaudier. I'm excited to see what he'll do. I mean, he's somebody that I think is sneaky good. DJ Kennington, Alex Tagliani, we do get confirmed that Trayton Lapsovich is going to race at Chaudier. Doesn't say anybody other than FBM and Delta Bingo. Hopefully they do have somebody else added on there. Brandon McFarland, Thomas Nouveau, Andrew Ranger, LP Dumoulin, Josh Collins, Wallace Stacy, Kevin Lacroix. Interesting note, it says Valvoline as the primary instead of Napa. Donald Teach, Larry Jackson, Dexter Stacy, Marc-Antoine Cameron, and it does have Malcolm Strawn, but it does also have number 87, AER Manufacturing / GM Paillet Chevrolet for Sam Fellows. Now, I don't have any knowledge of this in terms of what the schedule is, in terms of what the deal is. We're expecting a press release tomorrow. I think these guys jumped the gun a little bit by releasing this early. But that's the track. Like, they're allowed to release whenever they choose to. So Sam Fellows had teased this. He had teased the number 87 on his social media. And now to see GM Paillet there, I don't know. All of a sudden, this is like a JC Paillet takeover, but that's a very interesting tidbit because of all the tracks that I thought Sam Fellows would return at, I did not for once think it would be on an oval. But I'm not going to be upset about this. I like this. It is exciting. I'd like to know a little bit more about it, so I'm excited to see when that press release does come out what the situation is here. Because I don't know. I think, honestly, I'd love to see whether it's a full-time deal, like what's going to be the rest of the season. I would think Sam 100% is going to be at Toronto, 100% GP3R, 100% at the second CTMP race, and then probably iCar. I would think that the road course races are a Sam Fellows type of race. So for me, I'm going, that's absolutely a great choice. Now, one thing that I'm really excited about is that AER Manufacturing is listed here as the primary, which, I mean, it might not be the case. Obviously, the order varies, right, in terms of how they list things. But I'm very excited about this for a lot of reasons, because Sam Fellows, again, has shown that he has capabilities very well of performing at the highest level in maybe the not top equipment. Now, what's also great about this is that it also still includes Malcolm Strawn in the 98. Now, whether or not that will actually happen, I don't know. We've seen this before where drivers are added to an entry list and then maybe they just don't have the funding and they do pull back. But I know that Malcolm really was trying to make this happen, trying to get to be able to do as many races as he possibly could. This is an opportunity for Malcolm that he has not been given before. And I think based on his performances so far, he's sitting 12th in the championship standings after 2 races. And he has not raced in the series for a full season. So he hasn't raced since 2021 in the shortened season when he raced a couple. And for him to get a 12th place finish in Jim Bray's equipment at Sunset Speedway was great. I think he followed it up with another, maybe it was 13th at Sunset, which ties Chantel Kalika's finish at Sunset in 2021, and then 12th place at CTMP. That's amazing for Jim Bray racing equipment. Excellent stuff. And at Sunset Speedway, if not for a flat tire, he would have finished even better, probably inside the top 10. So it is exciting. Very exciting stuff. Now, adding in, again, this whole situation with Sam is very, very interesting because we don't exactly know where this car is from. If you see the car owner, it says organization, and it says Linda Fellows. So is this a Fellows Motorsports potentially with support from GM Paillet? I mean, when you look about of all the people that are really connected to Chevrolet, this would be what a combination. You have the most successful GM dealership with GM Paillet and JC Paillet, and then the most successful Chevrolet driver for Canadians in Ron Fellows, now having Sam, who's an ambassador at CTMP. There's a lot of good that I like seeing here. I think that in this series, you've got to have certain names. And having Sam Fellows come into the series was one thing. But I think keeping him in the series is a very, very important thing because he does have brand recognition. I think as the other thing that could come from this is Ron and Sam have a race together. I think everybody wants to see this. A Ron Fellows return with Sam Fellows at CTMP. I personally would think if you have 2 competing Chevrolets with Canadian Tire or Sunoco or a GM Paillet, GM Chevrolet, or just Chevrolet, it would be great. It would be huge for this series. It's the same thing I talk about when we go to, say, Toronto and getting somebody like a Mac Clark, who is an Indy USF championship driver, a local driver, and having him or James Hinchcliffe out of Oakville. Hinch is the biggest name that this series could get for Toronto. And I don't feel like that's out of the realm of possibility. I think somebody like a Dalton Kellett, who's from the IndyCar series, also is somebody that could very well find themselves in an opportunity in Toronto. Because again, when you get some of those names, they've been all over the world now. That's what makes it exciting. You've got names like Glenn Stiers. Well, is Glenn always going to race, or is he going to eventually become just a team owner and have somebody else drive his zero car? That is a very possible option for him. I would see Glenn. Glenn does it now. He puts so many drivers in Glenn Stiers racing cars. So it definitely is. I don't know if you're joking, Jeremy. It says, whoever is part of this series, I sure hope there's no avoidable contact and everybody stays at least 3 feet away from any fellow competitor. Well, that's certainly not going to happen. Short track racing, you're not staying 3 feet away from everybody. But great sentiment. Just to be able to keep cars clean, that would be nice. Especially after sunset. We saw a lot of wrecked race cars. But at the end of the day, it's bleeding there just a little bit. Because we know, Jeremy, we know, right? We know they kind of have magnets attached to these race cars at times. And just for the sake of the bodywork, maybe one race we can just keep them separate. For sure. But at the end of the day, like I said, we've got some exciting things happening here. We've got merchandise, got a brand new merchandise line. You've got live streaming that's happening. We've still got some kinks to work out there. That's obviously been a problem. But I think no, definitely not. Not at Chaudier. But yeah, Glenn Stires, like I said, I like that guy. I like him coming in. Sure. Just want your take on what Adam Ross wants, which is if you watched the show last week, he, in his vast knowledge, wants avoidable contact penalties. That doesn't mean 3 meters away. I think you have to look at it different, right, Jeremy? I understand your opinion on what you think of Adam. That's fine. But avoidable contact within reason. And what I mean by that is look at and this is a perfect example, Jeremy, is if we go to the Cup Series right now, what's the biggest problem? People are right hooking drivers dangerously. I think the idea is so that we don't want people to be making that type of contact with drivers, regardless of their status. Cup drivers, Xfinity, whatever. We've seen a right hook in this series before, and it was dangerous, and it resulted in an injury. I don't know if contact penalties would work in a series like this. It's a little hard. Egregious moves, absolutely. But contact with cars, that happens. It's going to happen. But intentional, and this is where there's a really fine line. Because right now the Cup Series is dealing with this, where Austin Dillon yesterday is crying for a penalty because he feels he was right hooked by Austin Cindric. But what's the difference? Is it only if somebody dumps somebody and it is obvious because you go down that road where does it stop? Exactly, Jim. Exactly. It's becoming a safety measure. Now, you would have thought that you can leave these competitors in charge of it and they'd be fine. They know the injuries, yet people are doing it. I don't think that all hooks in a racetrack will result in an injury. However, it's an extremely dangerous move. I wouldn't say that putting it in avoidable contact means taking away the 20 CTMP win and giving it to Marc-Antoine Cameron. Now, if we're looking at it from the V8 championship, I think that they do things very well there. But again, that's where they also say, like, if you make contact with somebody, like if you bump or move somebody out of the way to win a race, it's an avoidable contact penalty. I think that gets a very gray area. Very hard to judge that. And that's where I don't know if we're, as a series, able to do something like that. I only say that because of how our last two finishes have been. Multiple finishes, even. Because I think if you take the history of the series, it would be very difficult to make that judgment call week in and week out, especially when you go through if it's intentional or not. Now, you bring up a great point, Jeremy, because contact in racing happens. It happens. That's part of it. But there's a big difference between contact incidentally and intentional. I wouldn't want to be the one that has to make the judgment call. I think the moves that they made are absolutely okay. I think moving somebody is fine. Wrecking somebody is different. So Jeremy says, why? That was 100% avoidable. Obviously, that's hypothetical. Just want to show why certain people who hold social partner haven't a clue what they're talking about. But again, you have to remember is that everybody comes from different sides of racing. Everyone has their own opinion of racing. So you're saying that no one has a clue, but that's your perception, right? Your perception is that that person doesn't have a clue. That's the reality, right? It's up to the people in charge. If they don't see it fit, then what are we to say? Can continuously watch racing for it or not. Tim says, is it really that hard? If a trailing driver doesn't try to make a pass and only makes contact, is that avoidable or intentional contact? This is a fine debate, but we have to go back here. It's always been involved in motorsports. Now, is it worse than it was before? Absolutely. And where does it start personally? You got to go back to the beginning of motorsports where stuff started to become a regular. And now it's changed. I think, Tim, you and I can both agree that there was a way that Earnhardt did it, but he would race you, fair for most of the time. But now it's becoming almost like a passageway. Jeff Gordon did it, and I feel like since that 2002 when he did it to Rusty Wallace at Bristol, it started to become more and more of a regular thing. And nowadays, a great example of this, and one of the most egregious hooks that I've ever seen was it's like a pit maneuver, isn't it, Al? Was Tate Fogelman at Talladega when he completely hooked John Hunter Nemechek on the straightaway to win the truck race. Not even an attempt to try and cleanly pass him. That is egregious. That's an awful move. Do I think that what Trayton did last week was awful? Absolutely not. That was, again, a lot of people have said it is the cleanest move. But what a lot of people are also coming for is, why do you have to make the contact at all? Because that's what we've seen for the last 15 years now, is people constantly doing it in the Cup Series, in the Xfinity Series, in the Truck Series. I'm telling you, if it gets taken care of from the top, it'll work its way down. I really think that that's the way it is. People are learning this, and they're doing it routinely. Now, who's somebody that you want to go after to utilize as a clean move? Ryan Blaney. If you guys remember Ryan Blaney's truck move back with Armand Quiroga when the Truck Series were here, that is how you do a move correctly. Chase Elliott completely dumped Ty Dillon. No attempt. Completely dumped him. There's a difference between shoving. There's a difference between hooking. There's a difference between intentional, not intentional. If, for any reason, somebody was hooked and hit the wall and was injured or killed, this gets changed tomorrow. Am I right? You can't do this type of move in Indy cars because it's so dangerous. Because they're open wheels. So where has this come from? Well, it's been trickled down. It is a common move used on short tracks. Now, I'm not saying that I don't mind it. I like watching races that are close. Would I love to see more clean finishes? Absolutely. But that doesn't come from us as fans. That's the drivers and that's the sanctioning bodies. If the sanctioning bodies cut down on it, as Jeremy has said, if it becomes a penalty, guess what? People aren't going to do it. That's how you do it. If you give people a penalty, if they know they're not going to win the race because they made contact with somebody, then that takes all the incentive to do it out. Jim says, as cars get closer and closer to the same or spec, you will see passing less and less because there's not a big advantage that they're used to have. The worst I ever saw was Edwards. Oh, there you go. That's a perfect example where, Jim, where he could have very well killed Brad. Twice, actually, because he did it at Gateway as well. And I don't remember, Jim, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think he was ever penalized, was he? I don't think. And to give context, what Adam considered avoidable contact is when Denny barely got into Chase coming off turn 4. So if that's avoidable contact in areas, okay, well, Jeremy, your comments are a little off base there. You're allowed to disagree with people, okay? But he's allowed to have an opinion just like you are. Right? It's the whole thing. If you don't agree with somebody's opinion, you don't agree with it. That's it. That's what racing shows are about. We're supposed to talk about this stuff, and if you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. If you got a problem with Adam, talk to him. Simple. I'm not here to talk about that. Like, you got to talk to him if you got a problem. All right? Because I can't help you. I didn't see it. Carl didn't get anything from Gateway. Did he get anything for Atlanta? He didn't get a race penalty, did he? Reezy? I don't think he did. I don't think he got a penalty for either one of them. But again, does it go back to... It goes again. It connects back to when Brad spun Carl at Talladega for the win. So it's retaliation on a dangerous level. Now I don't want to see parked for the rest of the race, 3 race probation, but he wasn't parked for a race. I don't know if the penalty is stiff enough. Honestly, parked for one race, I don't think is enough. Because now, all of a sudden, as Jeremy has pointed out, what's the incentive? Could they just go out and do it again? Right? And from a guy like Chase Elliott doing it, and then at the end of the day, from being behind a mic, screaming in excitement as this 20 moved to 20 welcome there. Okay. Again, Jeremy, you're allowed to have your opinion, but we're moving on from that. All right? Because you're allowed to be excited, and you're also allowed to have an opinion. It's in the moment. I've been a race announcer. You get into the moment. You announce things as they happen, but it might not be your true vision of what you like to see. He's got to do an entertainment, right? They may find him because you could plainly see Edwards' white gloves turn right into him. So that is something clear. Now, I thought about this. Why do they not have a camera within every car? I don't know if the expenses are just that intense, but if you have a GoPro facing the driver for every race and you're recording it every race and you can truly see if they turn into somebody, done. There seems to be such gray areas, right? Because the whole Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon thing, to me, on camera, if you slow it down, he's clearly going straight over into Austin Cindric's path. But then he calls it a right hook and said that that's what he did. So I don't envy the guys up in the Cup Series that have to make these decisions. But I think that type of move, it needs to be... It's a very tough thing to talk about because we've seen it. We saw it at Delaware in 2022. Or... Sorry, in 2021. The 22 of Cameron hooked Shea Gemmel, and Shea was hurt. And they parked Mark for that race and for the next. I don't know in terms of like suspensions, like what that... I think parking for a race was the right move. But repeat offenders, that could be the interesting story. Because if somebody's done it once, they might do it again. And it's a different time. I don't feel that, like, for the Cup Series drivers especially, they have a duty to the fans and the future stars of motorsports to race as well as they said. The problem is all those young kids that are going to go start racing are now going to pull the same moves that their heroes are doing. If they're mad at a driver for how they race, they're going to right hook them. They're impressionable. That's what happens. And guess what? Those kids grow up on the short tracks and then they start doing the same moves that they see. And then we say why do people make those types of moves? It is tough. Like, you can't do. I don't think you can do it in a dirt car. Can't do it on those open wheel sprint cars. It's almost like it's got to be dealt with by the Cup Series guys. They've got to work it out. I'm not sure what the situation is for this series in terms of what they think of contact and what penalties come out of things, because it's a contact sport. That's what it is, right? But it's the same kind of debate that you have for hockey or something, like with when they first started doing the in certain checks, and it's the same type of situation where people will say, well, that wasn't a check to the head. That didn't deserve a match penalty. That doesn't deserve this. That doesn't deserve that, right? It's the same thing. I agree with you, Riggsy. I do. I want a cleaner finish. I think we need just, what we had last year. Finish under yellow. Andrew won it. Fair and square. It's done and over with. We don't, especially with that, Riggsy, I don't want to see more wrecked race cars. The amount of wrecked race cars across the Ontario racing scene in the last week, it is bad that people are racing like this. And let's be honest, if the Cup cars weren't a death waiting to happen, now the next gen is out, no one would care about the right hooks in the wall. Well, I bet you're probably right, Jeremy. I think that's probably part of it. And it's a bad thing to have happen. I think that right hooks have always been dangerous, but the fact that they know that people are getting injured in these cars, and Bubba did it, Chase did it, didn't matter. Denny Hamlin did it, or no, it was happened to Denny Hamlin, but like that's, we don't need to do that. And yeah, Riggsy, the Delaware races, we've had some awful wrecks. Sunset had some awful wrecks. We don't need any. Oh my God! And then the Glenn Stiers and Aaron Turkey had a humongous wreck at Ohsweken Speedway. Oh my God! I'm surprised that they were both okay. We don't need that. Not in terms of the costs with racing and the well-being of the racers. Not just the racers, but the fans. I mean, we were so close. We were inches away from having somebody die at Indy last week with the tire going through the fence. It did. But it's true, Jeremy, right? That's what I would have thought. I would have thought that Kurt Busch's injury, Alex Bowman's injury, would have meant that drivers would stop acting like that. Clearly not. And if they don't control it, it's going to become, they're going to have a serious injury. I think Kurt's was already serious enough. His wasn't regarding actual contact from somebody, but somebody is going to do something and it is going to hurt a driver. That's what's going to happen if they're not careful. Go back to Jimmy Spencer and Kurt Busch. Back and forth. This is why I was and still hesitating so much about my prediction of only 10 cars finishing a race and everyone else. I don't want to see it, but latest trends are really pointing to it. We don't need that, honestly, Riggsy. Like, we really don't. I agree with you. Like, I don't want to see this, but you have to agree that it seems like the signs are pointing that way, because it seems like the more aggressive people have been recently and not racing clean like they should. And we're not racers. Like, I'm not a racer, so I cannot go out there and say that they should be doing this, they shouldn't be doing that. But it is tough. It is very tough. I think that there's a lot of things. I agree with Tim as well, in that there are parents, coaches, mentors, drivers at a higher level who are teaching kids to run into each other. It's if it isn't enforced at the youngest level, but it's also, again, if drivers still do this at the highest level, guess what? It's going to keep happening. because kids are watching this. They're impressionable. If they're a racer, they're going to go out and they're going to do that too. It's the way that people are being taught. It's you need to win at all costs, not settle for second place. Think of the championship. Think of your car. Think of coming home clean. How many cup races have we seen now where drivers just go balls to the wall and destroy the champ? And that's because, as Jeremy said, there is a lot of changes within how racing is done now, and that you need to win a race. Well, if you were to cut the point standings back to being what they were, and maybe that's the way. I mean, that's why I think we don't see it as crazy in the Pinty series. Why Mark didn't feel that he needed to go crazy. You know, it needs to happen. Why Mark didn't go crazy? Because he knows he's got other races to win the championship. They don't have to do the I win and I'm in the playoffs thing. And that's probably to the benefit of the series. So penalize the kids. The NHL does stuff that doesn't happen at local rinks. Why can't stuff happen at Kings? Why can't stuff happen in Cup but not at local tracks? I'm not saying that they can't, but at the end of the day, everybody needs to be penalized. If it's getting to the point like we're talking about. Again, they changed the analogy. There seems to be two different ways of doing it. There's the rubbing is racing, but now there seems to be wrecking is racing. And it's tough because it is a really a really difficult thing to understand. I mean, Trayton, for example, had that run-in with DJ at Delaware, where he was moved, but that same move was applied this time around. And different circumstances, absolutely. But contact being made on restarts on a short track, I kind of expect to happen. On road courses, not so much. On super speedways and speedways, probably shouldn't. This is a debate that could go on for hours, really. This stuff was repeated so many times during the SLMS drivers meeting. Still had 14 cautions, but nothing stupid happened. Again, we talk about it all the time. I mean, if the rules are enforced and they're clear and they're taken care of, I don't think you're going to have as many of these issues. But Chaudier is going to be a contact track. That's what's going to happen. Now, hopefully we have a nice, clean race. Last year got a little nutty at times, and we had some really big damage to some cars. But I hope the series and I hope the people racing on the track will keep it in gear and have their wits about them. Know it's a long championship. We've got 14 races. It's only race 3. If it's a needing a payback or feeling like you need payback, you just move them out of the way. Don't wreck. There's nothing that comes out of that, you know. I don't know what else to say, right? It is. I want a clean race, just like Reezy said. I'd love it if we could just have a nice, clean. But again, CTMP for the most part was a pretty clean race. The ending, of course, always gets people up in arms because you have the people that feel that you shouldn't make contact, and then you have other people that say, oh, it's fine. Then you have people that say that was a wrecking or this. It's called difference of opinion, and that's what's going to happen in motorsports. It happens in every sport, and I welcome it. You have to be okay with people having an opinion because guess what? That means people care. It means that they're watching. It means that they're following the series, and that's what I am here for. I love seeing people get involved. Jim, you don't have to send me anything. I appreciate that, but it is my honor to do this show each and every week. Yeah, John Nemechek move on Custer. That's a bad one. Tim, yeah, you were there for that, I think, weren't you? Was that you scrambling, trying to run away from the dust? I think it was you, wasn't it? somebody had told me that there was a bunch of photographers that were from that were ours that were scrambling away from the start finish line. Yeah, that's a perfect example of where I would have been like, no. Same thing with like Chase. I would not have had Chase win that race. I thought so, Tim. Yeah, enveloped by dust. Yeah, I would have thought so. I was like, these guys got to dive for their life here because, and then yeah, Portland. I loved that race. It was great. It was chaotic, but it was good. That's a good little track too. I like Portland. I think it's a really, really fun racetrack. I don't get the hate from people, about why they have to go to that track, why they have to go to work. I think it's I loved that track since kart though. So Mark Blundell winning in I think it was a 3 wide photo finish in 98 there. Woo! Great track. But that is the time, folks. We're going to go 300 laps this weekend. We got a couple people that voted for Cameron, a couple people voting for Gannett, Donald Teege. We should see probably a pretty exciting 300 lapper. I won't be able to catch the race live, unfortunately, because I will be busy out at the track at sunset. But I definitely will be following along, and we'll be talking about it all of next Monday for sure. And likely Riggsy, if he's available, I'm going to see if Riggser can come on and chat with us about a post race. So have yourselves a great week, everybody. We should get some sort of a press release tomorrow regarding Sam's deal. And then thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody have a great week. Enjoy the weather and get ready for the Bud Light 300, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, TSN Plus, and on Flow Racing for the NASCAR Pinty Series. 21 drivers should take to that track and for 300 laps. All right, everybody, have a great week.